manifest in my heart. Thousands and thousands of other benedictions are of no use to me.
O Supreme Godhead, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. O Damodar, O Ananta, O Vishnu, O Master, O Lord, be pleased upon me. Shower me with your merciful glances, and deliver this poor ignorant fool, immersed in an ocean of worldly sorrows, and become visible to my eyes.
O Lord Damodar, as a baby tied to a grinding mortar, you delivered Kuvera's 2 sons from the curse of Narada and made them into great devotees. In the same way, please give me pure, loving devotion for you. I long for this alone and have no desire for any kind of liberation.
O Lord Damodar, obeisances unto the brilliantly effulgent rope binding your belly. Obeisances unto your belly, the abode of the entire universe. Obeisances unto your dear most beloved Srimati Radharani, and obeisances unto you, O Lord, who display unlimited pastimes.
Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshurumridandena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Ajanagambita Bujo Kanaga Bhajatu Sankirtanaya Kapitaro Kamalaya Taksha Vishwambaro Dvijaguru Yugadharma Palo Vande Jagatpriyakaro Saranabhakari Vande Shri Krishna Chaitanya Nityananda Sadhika Gauraya Pushpavanto Chitra Samdhotam Vandeham Shri Ramakrishna Haya Charana Sato Guru Paramanando Sundaro Sundaro He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Krishna Bhupekananta Tarananda Namaste Tapta Kanchana Gaurandi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishvesvarasute Devi Pranamami Hare Shri Guru Vaishnava Guru Parampara Ki Jai Shri Shri Gauranga Madhava Ki Jai Shri Chaitanya Charitamrita Ki Jai Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Gaur Premanande Ki Jai. Welcome. So we're continuing our discussion of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's conversion of Prakashananda Saraswati in Benares. And in brief here, Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami has been pointing out a number of important faults in the doctrine of Shankaracharya. This again is something that he seems to want to take up here as an afterthought, having in previous chapters given very beautifully the essential philosophy and theology of Gaudiya Vaishnavism, explaining his own Mangala Charan. And this chapter, in this chapter, that explanation is concluded in the very onset of the chapter, and he segues into this Leela that's out of place, as I've sometimes said, because the narrative really begins several chapters later, about 6 chapters later after this chapter. Then there's his explanation of why he wrote the book, how he came to write the book, more specifically in Vrindavan. We got the blessings of Mother Mohan and so on and so forth. Chapter 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. He's introducing all the significant, he describes the metaphorical tree of love of God that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the gardener of, and the tree itself, and so forth, and the branches of the various devotees. So he speaks about the devotees of Nityananda Prabhu, the followers of the great of Gadadhar, and so on and so forth. more or less introducing all the different players in the drama that starts in terms of the narrative in chapter 13 with the appearance that which precedes, and then probably the appearance of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and then more or less it goes chronologically. Indeed, this chapter here, which describes the conversion of Prakasana Saraswati, appears again at the end of the Adi-lila in chronological order, so it's out of chronological order here. And two things are emphasized here that he seems to feel are very important for going forward with the narrative. And there are two things that perhaps aren't brought out as strongly, if at all, in the preceding chapters. Now, Sankirtan, of course, it is brought out to some extent, but very clearly in this chapter, as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu replies to Prakasana Saraswati, who had asked, "What's with you? What kind of sannyasi are you? You're singing and dancing instead of studying the Vedanta. That's the duty of a sannyasi." And so Mahaprabhu, of course, explains, well, my guru said I couldn't study Vedanta. He gave me Krishna Nam, Krishna mantra, that's what I do. I went crazy. I asked him about it. He said that's the result you're supposed to get, and so on. And then Mahaprabhu goes on to, and then they say, well, there's nothing wrong with being a devotee of Krishna. We're not saying that. And what's wrong with the study of Vedanta? And then he goes on to show from the scriptures that in Kali Yuga the way is not the study of Vedanta, but it's the chanting of the holy names, Nam Kirtan, and so on and so forth. And he shows them that they missed a few verses, as I've said before, in their study of Vedanta. And then he begins to explain what's wrong with their idea of Vedanta. We're coming just to the end of that explanation here. And so this short section, it's not that short actually, fairly lengthy section, that highlights the misinterpretation of the sacred texts on the part of the Advaitins, the Mayavadins. Seems to be placed here as a kind of an afterthought to his Mangalacharna and its explanation, where again the philosophy of theology is explained. And now he wants us to say, and by the way, it's not this. You can see if you study carefully his comments on his Mangalacharna that his audience is the religious public of the time, including other Vaishnava Sampradayas, and he addresses covertly their other Vaishnava Sampradayas, and Ramanuja Sampradaya in particular. He addresses by quoting verses from Jamunacharya that support in his own interpretation what he's saying. Is it to say your own Sampradaya is also saying this? So some of that's going on. He argues that Krishna is Swami Bhagavan, source of Narayan. He knows well that other Vaishnavas think that Narayan is the source of Krishna. He's generous by saying to them, after a long argument as to Krishna being the fountainhead of all avatars, he says, but if you want to think of it differently, and think of Krishna or Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who's Krishna, which he argues for as well. If you want to think of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as a incarnation of Shiradaksha Vishnu, Karnadaksha Vishnu, it says it's not very flattering, but it's all right. It can be true. He's all things. If he's Swami Bhagavan, he's also Ram, he's also Gurman, and so on and so forth. They're all in him. So that he acknowledges other angles of vision. He's aware of the times in which he lives, and the thought currents of the time, and he is just like half a generation after the founding acharyas, and his book is kind of the final kind of Bhakti Shastras that form the foundation, the scriptural foundation of our lineage. So he is right there, working with just under the architects of the whole sampradaya. So he's dealing with, they have to establish themselves in a religious community with their idea. And so the Goswamis did so. He's very, very faithfully representing them here in this book and putting their Sanskrit writings into Bengali, giving it to the more common folk is the idea. And so that's it. He hasn't dealt in that section, as I'm saying, with the Mayavad philosophy, and it is very prominent. And so it appears that he wants to deal with it before going forward. And it's more or less Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was going to Vrindavan, and you can't really go there unless you pass through Benares, pass through the Mayavad idea, and retire it altogether. Otherwise, as we've heard, there's no form of God, there's no Lila, the name is not eternal either, and so on and so forth. So certain points in the teaching of Shankaracharya, which is the one form of Vedanta that is non-theistic, at least in comparison to the other Vaishnava forms of Vedanta, the Shuddha-dvaita, the Vishishta-dvaita, Dvaita, and of course the Achinta-Veda or Achinta-Dvaita of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. These are all clearly theistic. Pujapad Sridhar Maharaj, of course, liked to refer to Gaudiya Vaishnavism as the wholesale theism, something to that effect, full-fledged theism. So they're all theistic, but this is taking it to the extreme, and by contrast, Shankar's is non-theistic. We've heard already statements from the Vishnu Purana that Mahaprabhu himself has cited through the pen of Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. Vishnu Purana's statements, Padma Purana, his statements. Actually, I've read myself, Mahaprabhu referred to Vishnu Purana and Bhagavad Gita with regard to Shakti Tattva. He starts to explain the Shakti Tattva we discussed yesterday. But in his commentary, of course, Prabhupada pulls out some verses from the Padma Purana that describe the empowerment of Shiva by Vishnu for the purpose of spreading a veiled form of Buddhism. The idea being, as we've heard, to take people from this Shunyavad to a Nirvishesh conception in which the Vedas are embraced, as they're not in the Buddhist tradition. Buddhists would be more clearly non-theistic. Later in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Mahaprabhu does say something about the Buddhists, and he describes the Mayavad philosophy as, to use Sri Ramar's term, half-truth is worse than no truth. Better to be a Buddhist and just come out and say there's no God than appear to be saying that there is a God, and when there isn't, so to speak. It's kind of how he portrayed the teachings of Shankaracharya. So anyway, a number of faults have been brought up here. The main focus of this whole expose on Advaita Vedanta is the way in which Shankar has gone about presenting the conclusions of the Shastra, of the Upanishads, which is thought to be in an imaginary way, a way of taking the Mukhavritti, direct statements, and explaining them indirectly in terms of Gaunavritti, and taking the Gaunavritti statements and making the Mukhavritti. So many statements about the eternality of the form of Bhagavan and so on and so forth. So he has this fancy way of shifting the ground, and this is all kalpana, imaginary. It's not. This is again where Prabhupada gets his subtitle of the Bhagavad Gita as it is, as is without the whole Prabhupada's whole idea of mental speculation. This is what it's about. I mean, it's so widely misinterpreted as if to mean don't think, whatever you do, don't think that's Maya, and just be a literalist. Take it all, everything literally, and otherwise you're just speculating. It's really about this, to not be chased to the straightforward argument of the sacred texts as to their theistic nature, and to add your own interpretation into it. So he's given some examples of how he's done that, and what the results are. The example yesterday we heard, well, there's a couple, the Jiva and Brahman are one. There are statements like this, but there's statements to the contrary as well. Those are ignored. And what is the context? And so forth. That those statements about the unity of Brahman and Jiva and Atman are described. I just gave an example yesterday of a man living in a cave, and two men, one going outside, seeing the sun for the first time, coming back in, trying to explain it to the other resident. What can you say about the sun and all that it does, providing the vegetation and heat, light, and so forth. And so he has to just make a crack in the wall, and a little ray of light comes in. This is the sun. That's hardly the sun. That's just something, but it's so extraordinary compared to the darkness. And so the Upanishads, you have to start somewhere. So, and this is a very beautiful thing that the Goswamis have done. They've really, really labored to show context in their explanation of the sacred texts. So again, the Upanishads is a beginning. The Puranas are said to fulfill, fluff that out, play that out through more lengthy and user-friendly explanations of narratives and so forth. But the Upanishads begin with the idea that if I'm going to speak to you about God, I have to talk to you, I have to give you an example of something that you can have to, by which to compare. We define things by comparisons. So what is it in the world that is most like God? If anything, it's no thing. And it just so happens you are not a thing. So you are consciousness, you are Atman. And that is what God is. Chit Shakti. Not like matter, inert, achit. So this is a beginning kind of understanding. It doesn't end there. So this is one of the ideas of Shankar, very difficult to really support from the sacred text, from the revelation. Absolute oneness between Jiva and Brahman, which he does it by way of doing away with the Jiva altogether, doesn't really exist. Neither does the world really exist, whatever that means, right? So Mahaprabhu gives and cites the Vishnu Purana and Bhagavad Gita very clearly. Aparaya mitastvamyam prakriti param jiva bhuta mahabhaho. The jiva is described along with or following the description of the material nature. Earth, water, fire, air, ether. And there's another Shakti also. It's called the Jiva. And what is its relationship with what I just described, Maya Shakti? It lights it up. It enjoys it, or tries to. It sustains it in that way. Gives it meaning and so forth. And the verse that follows that, of course, is that these two, the world is nothing but these two energies. This is Bhagavad Gita. So, as it is, anyway. So, so this is one of the points, the overarching point again that he has interpreted. Obviously, there are different takes on the scripture, and again, we acknowledge the different lineages, right? I just mentioned some of the Vaishnava lineages, but they are theistic. This is different, and it has this, I guess I say, sleight of hand where the Mukhi Vritti becomes the Gauna Vritti, the Guna Vritti becomes the Mukhi. There's no need for that. This is the mental speculation that Prabhupada's talking about, this kind of idea. Not that your explanation of the revelation is not faithful. Therefore, we heard yesterday, Krishna does use a very strong word, Vyas Pranta. He quotes it. He says, what Shankar is saying is that Vyas didn't know what he was talking about. Pranta means crazy. Vyas didn't know what he was talking about, so let me explain it to you. So this is, Mahaprabhu was objecting to this. And then he went on, of course, explaining that the Jiva and Brahma are not one, enabling him to segue into a brief dissertation about the nature of Shakti. And he cites the Vishnu Purana, describing the three principal Shaktis, the internal energy, the Swarup Shakti, the Tatastha Shakti, the Jiva, and the Maya Shakti. So, and the doctrine of Shakti Parinam, as opposed to Vivartavad. Vivartavad is there. Vivartavad means accepting something for what it's not, a rope for a snake. But it applies to the idea that I think I am the body, because when you think you are the body is the snake, is the rope that you think is a snake. In Shankar's idea that the world is Vivartavad. There's no snake, there's no rope, and there's no snake. There's no rope to begin with to think that it's a snake. The rope is an illusion. So rather a doctrine of Shakti Parinamba, that the world is the transformation that is the world. It is a transformation. It's something that undergoes transformation. That transformation is a result of the interaction of the Shaktis of Bhagavan, acted by his will. Bhagavan himself is not transformed. The Shaktis aren't. Well, Maya Shakti is subject to transformation. And under the influence of the Jiva, that transformation goes on. So he explained these things, and now he comes to his last point before the sannyasis will appreciate it and ask another question. And what is this? It's Pranavase Mahavakya, Vedera Nidam, Ishvasrup Pranavasaru Vishwadham. So Pranavase Mahavakya. The Pranava Omkar is the Mahavakya. Great. The seminal seed sound of the sacred texts. And he says, Vedaranidan, it is the Mahavakya and the basic sound out of which all the sounds of the Vedas come. This is mentioned actually in the Gita. Om iti, Om Tat Sat Nirdeshta. The Om, the Pranava Omkar is mentioned twice in the Gita. Once I just cited in the 17th chapter, and then again in the 8th chapter. Om iti ekakshara brahma, something like that. And the 8th chapter says that they're describing yoga mixed with bhakti. Yoga Mishra Bhakti. The result of which, done perfectly, is Salokya, to live on the same planet with Narayan, in Shantirasa. And he says, sitting still, and at the time of death, uttering Om Iti Akshara, the syllables om, aum, om, one attains me. And me here it means in the context of how they're approaching. Krishna says earlier, as they approach, so I reciprocate accordingly. So this is one of the approaches, but it's not the approach of Gaudiya Vaishnavism. Still, we honor the Om as the basic sound of the Vedas, is the sound of God. That's what it's saying there in the 8th chapter. Om, A, U, M. It covers all the ways in which you can make sounds, from the throat, A, U, to the eye, how you saw, tongue on the roof, and Aum. So all the sounds that you can make are thought to come within what is made by uttering the Om. So the implication is all the sound, the sacred sound, comes out of the Om. Often compared to the Krishna's flute, Om is coming. Om and Gayatri. It's the prototype of all mantras, and then the Vedas flow. Gayatri, the sound of deliverance. Gana, Trayate, the sound Gana, Trayate, of deliverance. Which, of course, in the way in which Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is delivering, takes the shape of Hare Krishna. Once I was sitting with Prabhupada, he said, Om is also the name of God, but he said you cannot get that same ecstasy by chanting Om as you can by chanting Hare Krishna. We could feel it. There's a similar statement by Jiva Swami. He says, Shrotam api Upanishadam dure harikatamrita. The sounds of the Upanishads leave one far from where one can arrive by Harikatha. Dure Harikatamrita, Kampashru Pulakadaya. I mean, it just starts to describe it. Asta Satvika Vikar, the transformations of ecstasy, involuntary. Sattvika Bhavas that play a prominent role in Lila, in Krishna Lila. So Om is important, and it has its place, important place. It's a name of God, it's the sound of God, but God is a general idea. So Krishna is a very specific idea of God. So that's another thing. But here we very much honor the Om, the power of the Om. Om is mentioned in the Gita, as I mentioned in the 8th chapter, with regard to Salokya, this type of liberation pursued by yogis, whose mixed with Jnana. With Bhakti. And then I cited about the 17th chapter of Gita, Om Tat Sat Iti Nirdishta, these 3 words, Om Tat Sat. It said these sounds were heard by the rishis. They're the unauthored sounds. So I've spoken about this of late at different times. There are sounds, just like there are sounds that dogs can hear that we cannot. There are sounds that people in Sattva-guna can hear, that people in Rajaguna and Tamaguna cannot hear. It's very practical. Even someone in Rajaguna and Tamaguna just cannot hear classical Indian music. There's no beat there. It doesn't get your juices going. It's not supposed to. It's supposed to do something else. So it's very practical. That not everybody can hear all the sounds, but in a deeper sense, there they are unauthored sounds. So Om Tat Sat are thought to be among them, and they're heard and they revealed by the sages. So the Upanishads are real, they're written down, they're heard. And there's sounds that are the basis of the world. Om is, out of Om comes the Brahmins, comes the Veda, and comes the sacrifice that's prescribed. The doer of the sacrifice itself as described, and then sacrifice itself is performed. So all these, therefore, all the Vedic sacrifices are said to be perfect by, are to be, I should say, prefaced by Om. And it's, I believe this Vishwanath Thakur has commented that even if they're not done quite right, if the Om is there, then it'll be okay, which is a way of saying what Prabhupada used to say, that we did the Krishna Balaram installation. It took 3 days in Vrindavan. It's a huge affair, and Brahmins were coming from different days, performing different, every Brahmin from every different, whatever group and whatnot, got to play their part and so forth. And Prabhupada was trying to ease his way in, that his Western disciples would be accepted in Vrindavan, and he would have a temple, and they would be worshiping there, and so on and so forth. So he made a big to-do about it. When it was over, he said, actually, just by our chanting Hare Krishna, everything was done. But to please everybody else, we went through all these things. So idea is that even if there's some irregularity, if the Om is properly chanted, if the sound of God is there, then God is there, everything's all right, something like that. So Pranava Omkar, it's very prominent. Devotees have a very interesting take on it. The Goswamis, I believe Jiva Goswami's written on it. How does he say? Akarenu Chate Krishna Sarvalokaya Nayaka Ukarenu Chate Radha Makara Jiva Vachaka. He says Kara, the syllable, the sound, the letter Kara, Akara Uchate Krishna. The in Om represents Krishna, who's the Sarvalokaya Nayaka, who's the hero of the whole world. And Ukara Uchate Radha, the U, the U, it represents Radha. And the Makara, Jiva, is the sound that represents the Jiva. So you have God, Radha, and Jiva. This way you can have a bhakti, you see. Radha's in between. She draws Krishna to herself and draws the Jiva there also. That's where he can be met. He can be met in the middle, where Radha is. He's somewhere else. He's drawn there. So this is a very Gaudiya, obviously, interpretation of the Pranava Omkara, and gives us reason to further assert, from our perspective, it is the main sound, Mahavokya, of the Vedas, the principal sound. And by contrast, of course, he will go on to say, well, he says, Ishwar Swarup Pranava Sarvishvadham. Therefore, one should accept it as such. It's Ishwar Swarup Pranava. It's one with the nature of Ishwar. And so, why is he saying this? By contrast, because Shankar has another idea. And having said a few things, as we have about Om, there could be probably many, many more things that are said about it. I mean, you can just think practically about it. In the Western and I believe Eastern circles alike of gatherings for Eastern spirituality. I mean, everybody's heard of Om. I mean, the symbol Om it's almost too much used to use again from an artistic point of view. I wouldn't agree with it, but some people think like that from an artistic point of view. So everybody, I mean, everybody who's heard of Hinduism or gone to Hindu gathering has probably heard of Om. And it's very, very popular. And by contrast, who has heard of the Mahavakya as conceived by Shankar? There are two people. What is it? Sarvashrai Ishwarer Pranava Udesh. The reservoir of everything, the Ishwar, the Godhead, is the Pranava Omkar. Tattvamasi Vakyahoi Vedera Ekadesh. Tattvamasi, which Shankar thinks is the Mahavakya. Again, this is just another example of, what are you talking about? You know, it's kind of the Gaudiya take on it. Where do you come up with that? When you made that up? Because this is your mental speculation. So how can that be supported? That this is the main sound. Shankar has given the 10 principal Upanishads. Says who? Says who? He says. Okay. So we don't necessarily look at it like that. And so he says, Tattvamasi, and Mahaprabhu says, Bhakya-hoi Vedara Ekadesh. This is just a Ekadesh, a partial representation of the truth that Om fully represents in sound. So this is the Mahavakya of the Shankar. That's why Mahaprabhu, when he was taking sannyas from Keshava Bharati, who was in the Shankar Sampradaya, he said to him, "Is this the mantra that you're going to give me?" And he whispered Tattvamasi in the ear of Keshava Bharati. But there's also a Gaudiya interpretation of Tattvamasi. It's very different. That's a whole other thing. And if you look at that, it's more true to the grammar. But Shankar's idea has been popularized. His idea, Tattvamasi, is Tat Tvamasi, Tat, that, Tvam, you. You are that. As if that even makes any sense. You are that. It's his way of saying, this is the main sound of the Veda, and it means that the Jiva is Brahman. You are that. Tat. Tat means Brahman. Om Tat Sat. Iti Nideshta is from Bhagavad Gita. So if it Om, the Tat, and the Sat. Right? So Tat, it does mean Brahman, that's fine, but that you are Brahman is really? How did I get in this situation? It doesn't feel like I am. It doesn't look like I am. What's Brahman doing down here in this kind of situation? Well, you're not really in this situation, and you really are not. There's only Brahman. So it's very much of a stretch. But at any rate, Gaudis have their own take on this mantra, of course. And when Mahaprabhu whispered it in the ear of his sannyas guru, the conception of Mahaprabhu he had of the mantra was then he was initiating Keshava Bharati into his understanding of the mantra, which is not you are that, but you are his. And that makes sense. You are that. You are here, are that. That's kind of a stretch. There's two, but there's really only one. There's two, but there's really only one. Mahaprabhu says, you are his. There's two, and they go together. They go together real nicely. You are his. You belong to him. You are for him, for his Shakti, for his purpose. That should be your purpose because you belong to him. So he gave that to Keshava Bharati, and Keshava Bharati said, yes, that's the one. Back to you, and so on. To emphasize the glory of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's own associates, it's said that he asked, Chaitanya asked Murari Gupta what to do. He's going to give him this mantra, Tatvamasi. And Murari said, think of it like this. You are his. So then he went, yes, that's a good idea. Yeah, and he again told it to Keshu Bharati and so forth. So even if you want to emphasize this verse, we think we have a better translation of it. And so it is with so many statements of, I'll give you another one. This is a nice one. What is it? Everything is Brahma. Sarvam khalo idam Brahma. Everything is Brahman. Sridhar said, yes, there are things and they're all Brahman. There are things, everything, and they're all manifestations of Brahman. It doesn't mean there are no things and there's no Brahman. And then, of course, we should mention that there's the famous statement of Shankar that's been uttered so many times that people think it's one of the Upanishadic aphorisms. Brahma Satyam Jagan Mityam. He made that one up. That's not a Vedic mantra, but people recite it as if it's like a Vedic mantra. Absolute truth. Brahman is real, the world is Mithya, Mityam, false. It doesn't really exist. This is some, again, kind of monistic idealism, spiritual monistic idealism. You got the materialistic monism, everything is matter, and then you got, on the other hand, Shankar, everything is Brahman. So we think, no, wait a minute, there's both things. And this is part of also the idea of as it is, because even if you take Shankar, but you go further, even with all the Vaishnava sampradayas, if you study them, you see there's the Shuddha Dvaita, Shishta Dvaita, Dvaita, and so forth. They're all trying to deal with something. They're all trying to deal with this bewildering kind of, is the Jiva Brahman or not Brahman? Is the world Brahman or not? And the unity, the oneness, and the difference, they're all nuancing it in some way. We're doing away with one, for the sake of Dvaita is doing away with any difference, and Advaita is doing away with any, there's only oneness. Dvaita is doing away with any oneness, I should say. And Advaita is doing away with any difference. And then Ramanuja is qualifying the non-difference, and so on and so forth. Who's the other one? Krishna Swami is giving Shuddha Dvaita, pure non-dualism. It's the Vaishnava idea, but Shuddha Swami and Vishnu Swami, Vallabha, and so forth. But Mahaprabhu's idea is, this is again why he didn't write a commentary or didn't empower directly any of his direct associates to write a commentary on Vedanta Sutra. He felt the Bhagavatam was a commentary on the Vedanta Sutra, and let's not try to tweak the thing, let's just take it as it is. There's difference and unity, and although the jiva is one with Brahman and different at the same time, and that just doesn't make sense how it could be one and different. He said it happens. It is the nature of reality, and it's happening by the inconceivable Shakti of Bhagavan. So let him be who he is. Let's not try to impose our intellect on the environment, which is saying one thing that doesn't fit between the ears, and try to make it fit between the ears a little better. Let's just accept that God has inconceivable Shakti, and it's going on in that way, something like that. And Dr. Kapoor, a disciple of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, wrote a PhD dissertation that was published as a book that, what's it called? Philosophy and Religion of Sri Caitanya. There's a chapter in it that Bhaktisiddhanta was liked as his favorite chapter, where he goes through the different schools of Vedanta, and he shows how each of these schools has a certain term, Advacharya, what is Madhva's term? Oh, I forget now. I mean, each has a term that tries to deal with this. And our term is achintya, which doesn't try to deal with it, so to speak. So it's this taking it as it is, and again, this is, it's kind of, it should not, I should just say, it should not be misunderstood for a literalistic, approach that results in religious fanaticism. It's not like that. And again, then we're back to the no mental speculation can turn into fundamentalist approach to understanding everything. It's not like that. But it's very faithful to the text itself when it says things that seem irresolvable, like this unity and difference idea. How can it be both? It says not only is it both, but like Advaita is sometimes it's Brahman is one and sometimes different. Ours interpenetrating one and different at the same time. And examples are given to help us. The example of the heat and fire, heat and light of fire, as an example. So there are examples which we can get an idea about it from the wave and particle, subatomic world, it's a wave, but no, it's a particle, both, kind of a thing. But how it's happening, that's what's inconceivable. At any rate, here he's criticizing this speculative approach that results in declaring that the Mahavakya of the Vedanta is Tattvamasi, and then he has his own interpretation of it. And it's really quite outlandish. I mean, as I say, in comparison to the extent to which the Pranava Omkar is celebrated. And in so many yoga circles, who's ever heard of Tattvamasi? And everybody's heard of Om. So it's a main sound. And Mahaprabhu's stressing this point. He says, Pranava Mahavakya taha kori achanda. Mahavakya kori Tattvamasi ra stapam. So Pranava Omkar is the Mahavakya, and Shankar has tried to cover it and make the Tattvamasi the main sound. Sarva Veda Sutri Kore Krishnera Abhidhan Nukyuviti Charti Korina Lakshan Vyakyan. So again, he more or less kind of now comes back to the beginning of his argument to conclude his argument. He says, Sarva Veda Sutre, well, Krishna Abhidhan, in all of the sutras of the Vedas, they all establish Krishna's position. Mukhya vritti chari lakshana vyakya. Giving that up and that direct, all the direct mukhya vritti understanding, Shankara has made up his own, and by way of making the indirect statements direct. Svata Praman Ved Praman Shiromani Lakshan Korile Svata Pramanatahani. He says the self-evident Svata Praman Ved. The Vedic literatures are the highest evidence of all, but these literatures, if these literatures are interpreted as Shankara has done, their self-evident nature is lost. So again, I have to say, the sun of the sounds has been covered by the cloud of his imagination. So, E Mata Prati Sutre Sahajarta Chadiya Gunarta Vyakya Kori Kalpana Koriya. So, the school of Shankar, giving up the real meaning and sahajarta. Sahaj means easy. Sahaj natural, natural, straightforward reading. I mean, it's very clear, again, to use Prabhupada's example. Krishna says, surrender us, give up all forms of religion and just surrender unto me. That's what Krishna says. And somebody else says, it's not to the Krishna that we should surrender, but to the unborn within. It's like, wait a minute, you know. So this is an example of that famous one, Prabhupada, with sight. So he says, Sahajarita Charya, giving up the easy, natural reading of the sutras. Gunartha Vyakya Kore Kalpana Korea. He's introduced indirect meanings based on kalpana, his own imagination, his own imaginative powers. E mate prati sutre korena dusham shuni chamatkar hoila sannyasi gan. So with this, Mahaprabhu then, according to Krishna's version, went on to show each and every sutra in terms of the defects in Shankar's explanations. And all these symbols and yastis were full of chamatkar, wonder. Chamatkar is the basis of rasa. So ready for now for rasa, included into rasa. We had inquired into Brahman and ended up somewhere else. Sakala sannyasi kohe shunaha sripad. All the sannyasis said that, please, Your Holiness, hear from us. Speaking to Caitanya Mahaprabhu. Tumi je kandile artha he nahi he na he vivad. Everything you said, we have no quarrel with. You have given, we accept what you said. You've given a clear understanding of the sutras. Acharya kalpita artha iha sobe jani sampradaya anurodhe tabu tahamani. He says, we know that the Acharya Shankar is full of all kinds of juggling of words and imaginary explanations. Yet, because we belong to this sampradaya, sampradaya anurodhe tabu tahamani, so we kind of go along with it, you know. We're playing it down a little bit, I guess, but in what I was saying, yeah, we had some hard time with some of those explanations ourselves, actually. We just went along with it because, well, we didn't have any other alternative. He's the Acharya, but what you said, and that's very heartening, easy to follow. Mukyartha vyakya kar dekhitumar bal mukyarte lagala prabhu sutra sakal. Now they leads us to the next section. Now let us see how you can describe the sutras in terms of the direct meaning, because he's shown what's wrong with Shankar's understanding. There's some light has been shed, obviously, on how he's thinking about it. But please give us your own explanation of the sutras. And so hearing this, Caitanya Mahaprabhu will begin to explain the sutras from his perspective. Sriman Chaitanya Dev ki jai. Oh, what's the time?
8:04.
So let's stop there. Continue with the next discussion. Shri Gauranga.
His Divine Grace, Bhaktivedanta Tripurari Swami Guru Maharaj ki jai. Okay, let's go through the whole time.